Hello and welcome to Wrestle Opinionated. This is our Double or Nothing special. We are your hosts. I am Morg and this is...
Too hot to handle, too cold to hold. Fastest gun in the northeast, west and south, Matt Strange.
And we have a special guest here for this. This is... Introduce yourself, sir.
Hi, my name's Muir, and they've dragged me in on this one, so hopefully I don't do too badly.
Hooray!
It's good to have you along. What you both been up to? Anything exciting?
Recovering mostly after the heavy whiskey double or nothing night, if I'm completely honest.
It was pretty heavy drinking, yeah, but it was a good one.
Yeah, slow day in the heat, trying to survive. How about you, man?
Not too bad. The usual, chilling out, recovering, rewatching Double or Nothing this morning.
Yep. So much happened.
Yes. So, Mr. Muir, you should probably introduce yourself, why we've dragged you along, what your sort of interest in wrestling is, and who is your favourite wrestler?
Currently, favourite wrestler is Pac. Unfortunately, we haven't got to see much of him recently. Used to be Phoenix before I got more of Pac. Then I've been dragged in because I'm not quite sure, really. You want an extra person just to discuss this, as far as I know?
Morg's like old wrestling sage. I'm new weeb, fucking weird indie wrestling. You're sort of the midpoint. You know enough about the old days, but you're really into NJP and stuff. So you're like you're our balance. You're our scales on this.
I'll try my best to be a balance around it all.
You're also more negative than me.
Debatable, but we can see.
So, this may be your first episode. If it's your first episode, then we have a tier list, which is how we review our matches and shows. And our tier list is now going to be explained to you by Mr. Strange.
Right, so normally I dress this up with an extravagant theme, but a lot of you will probably be listening to this for the first time because it's a pay-per-view one, and you'll be like, oh, some randos talking about a pay-per-view. It's the tier list system, which is used in some YouTube channels, quite well known through Japanese computer games like Resident Evil, which originally actually comes from the Japanese school system, would you believe? Matches work up letters in rank from D. A D match is a match where I'm not particularly entertained. My time could have been spent... pretty much doing anything else. The wrestling was poor, the story didn't matter, you didn't care. D. C match is your basic, solid, good match. C isn't like, oh, I'm all right. C is a good match. I've enjoyed it. There's been enough story, enough good wrestling, maybe really good story, but mediocre wrestling, maybe great wrestling, no story. C, good match. E takes one of those or all of that to the next step. Your eyes are on the screen. You don't look away. You care why they're fighting. You've got good selling. You've got good skills. Everything's looking good. A is obviously a phenomenal match. One of those matches where you're glued to it. You're going to hear a lot of A's tonight. The storytelling ties in with the wrestling. We get selling. We get, the environmental matches. Your almost top tier match. Then the S rank, which comes above them, which would be the A star in the British system. Don't know what the American system's got. In Japan, it stands for Sugoi or super or wonderful. The S matches are those special, phenomenal moments which, will be written down in wrestling history. Things which have completely blown your mind. Take the paradigm, just fucking throw it away. You've got story, you've got skill, and you love every moment. And that is the tier system for our matches.
So... normally now we'd faff around with rants with Twitter, etc. But I think most of the people who are listening to this just want us to get on with reviewing the pay-per-view. So we are going to start with the pre-show. The pre-show kicked off with Private Party versus the Best Friends. And the Best Friends win with Storm Zero. What did you think of the match? And what score did you give it?
This is the only match I didn't rewatch because of how angry it made me. I think both of you are aware of how much I love my boys.
What, Private Party?
I will slap you. And normally all of the matches have to be graded down a rank if it's a best friend match because I love them. I love Trent. He's, most powerful of the best friends. I'm a big Chucky T fanboy. I fucking love his meta nihilistic way. So normally I have to bring them down a rank. It was filled with botches. It was slow. It was awkward. I gave it a D. We might need some other people to say something positive about this because it was generally a poor start to my night.
It wasn't the best start. Like, there was a lot of rushed and botched spots. You've got to give it to Private Party. They were not on their game. But they have been out the ring for over a month. And, they are very young lads. Like, give them 5 years and they'll be one of the best tag teams in the world. But
they're going to be phenomenal. They just need...
They just need to work on their non-spots. Like, their spots are fantastic, but if I see the silly string one more time, I may just rip out all my hair,
They've got really long sequences as well. Like, I like wrestling, I like high spots, I like the dumb shit.
Yeah, 100%.
Some of their sequences just take so long to set up and go on forever. And I'm like, I honestly don't think this is a fight anymore. And, when somebody's moonsaulting off a balcony, it doesn't really feel like a real fight. But at least it kind of looks like it could have happened. Oh, do you have anything positive to say?
They didn't do the gin and juice, so that's my negative.
The gin and juice is probably one of the best finishers in the whole of wrestling and tag teams.
It's my favourite current tag team finisher.
How dare you? The Doomsday Device exists.
Current.
It can be second.
We don't want more people to die, Strange.
Current with its originating team.
Actually done as a finisher, yeah.
I think I was more interested in what was going on our Discord chat than the actual
match. Mate.
I'm sorry to say it didn't grab me. There were some nice bits. It just wasn't. And I think it was one of you guys that said this was not a great match to have for your
build hype.
Yes. Please come and watch our show.
They should have just used Alan Angels. Just put Alan Angels in a singles match. Nobody cares if he wins or loses, and I'd have fucking popped like fuck.
It should have done Alan Angels Omega 2.
Oh, God. That would have been wonderful. So, yeah, we're disappointed with the intro.
But that's the buy-in. The pre-show's never that. So on to the main show. We have Excalibur, Jim Ross, and Tony Schiavone on commentary. There's a quick open up with some promos. There is a Joey Janela promo, a Kip Sabian and Havoc promo, a Chris Daniels.
How good is Jimmy's suit? We have to stop talking to everybody else for Jimmy's suit. It was awesome.
Then Orange Cassidy and Best Friends promo. Did you think the promos deserved a rank? And if so, what rank did you give them?
I didn't rank it. I've got notes on it. I went through really nice, solid recap. I'm really starting to like Joey Janela, as apparently the only way I see him now, he's just your dorky wrestling mate. The mate who'd get shit-faced and do wrestling moves. You know me when you first met me. That's what I get from Joey Janela. So he's growing on me. Christopher Daniels' Ultimate Dad, Jimmy's suit, Best Friends, obviously genius with Trent's amazing set of shirts. I didn't rank it, but I think it was a nice. Well, we had another person with us who's not watched the Dynamite show, and it caught him up really nicely. He knew everybody was going into the first match. So yeah, solid intro.
That's what I think they've been doing particularly well during this crisis, is just repacking everything down what's been going on to give people the knowledge, which I think has been really good with the tag teams and the women's league, like over the last few weeks. And now this, you just know what's happening. So if you had been lapsed for like a month, you would be straight back into it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, we had Jay, didn't we? And he knew everything. He was on the ball just due to this. Good, strong, nice.
So then we have the Casino Ladder match. Kazarian comes in first, followed by Scorpio, which was obvious to me. Kip Sabian with Penelope and Havoc, then Darby Allin, then Orange Cassidy, then Colt Cabana, Joey Janela, then Luchasaurus, and finally our number 9 unreleased entrant that caused much cheering on our Discord channel in 2 separate stages, because myself and the Raptor were watching about 10 seconds ahead of you guys, and I had to actually put my hand in my mouth to not make a noise for Brian Cage and Taz. The match. Cage wins after climbing the ladder and retrieving the poker chip. What did you think of the match, and what score did you give it?
Right, so this is actually one of the matches with the most negative points on it, would you believe? I've had to put little asterisks next to them, though, because they're buried in just fucking awesome. Kaz and Scorpio, fucking phenomenal, always great together, really showed that they know each other, love that. Another comment about how fucking cool Jimmy's suit is. Nice bit of craziness, went a bit dubsy-dub, but wasn't too mental, you know, kind of enjoyed that. Great entrance for Darby. We did start to hit noticeable levels to me of people just lying down for a while, if you know what I mean.
Between around 4 and 5 entries, there was like 5 minutes of just lads lying on the floor. And it was like, you could have done a few more spots there, but it was still fantastic overall.
Yeah, it stayed on the high spots. Darby pulls a hammer, pulls his skateboard out of hammer space. That was pretty impressive. That's an anime reference, which you two probably won't get. Orange Cassidy's entrance was phenomenal, and I loved it. Him dodging people were brilliant. Joey Janela drunk mate runs out. There was, if I'm going to be critical, there was a big wobbly dance for the Luchasaurus kip toss a little bit the way through, and Darby sort of flattened himself trying to do his Code Red. When they do Canadian Destroyer. The turnbuckle one with Luchasaurus just sort of flipped him on top of him, but then sort of rolled it through. Cage felt like a fucking train. He came out like 98 Kane, and I think everybody in this chat loves 98 Kane. At least I hope they do.
Oh yeah, him just coming in as an absolute monster and taking 8 men to beat him down just gives you his power level straight away. You realise he's a threat. You know, it's just perfect entry for him.
They literally buried him.
Yes. I loved Orange Cassidy's little bit with the reaching up. That was a nice little bit virtually in the middle to break it up with a bit of comedy, just to give it that little break.
I noticed it took 3 people to stop Orange Cassidy from getting the chip. Like nobody looked weak in this match. Everybody looked strong. It's just Cage looked strongest. And Cage sells really well. He's got like a proper, because he's a bit like cuddly, because he's got like a bit of a cuddly fun face, if you know what I mean. I know he's like hench Wolverine, but you can see he's a bit of a happy lad under it all. He probably sells in like a goofy wobble around way, and I love it.
He wobbles like Triple H, but he actually falls over sometimes.
Darby remembered he was alive at the end and almost fell off a ladder. Fortunately, the camera cut away. And I honestly believe Cage, if a man fell, could just pick up him and the ladder and put him back in the position. So I think I'd be being nitpicky if I didn't give this an A. Sure, there were some slips. There was a wobbly dance. Some where are they? But I was fully entertained for the whole thing. The camera just focused on what we were doing. We had some great wrestling, good story work, and a strong surprise. I was more than pleased.
I think it was a fantastic entry for bringing in one of your new big bads. Like, obviously, he's going to be Darby Allin's heel, and it's going to be a great feud for them to push them higher up the card, just to show what each of them can do, which I think will be fantastic.
Well, we've seen a similar thing done in the next match, which we'll cover in a bit. Of take two people who aren't at the top of the thing, throw them in a feud where they can fucking fight together, and Tiny, indestructible, not crackhead, rolling about, throwing himself over world's henchest man. They should look phenomenal together in the ring.
The standard wrestling story of you want 2 men to go in, or more in this case, and you want them to both look better when they leave, and you feel that from that match. It was perfect for that.
I don't think anybody came out looking bad in the... No. My only criticism for the Casino Ladder match, personally, is that what does the poker chip mean? Is it a Money in the Bank? Now, the impression I'm under is he just has a future World Heavyweight Championship match.
Yeah, no, we do need that clarifying. I suppose at least on the fun side, he'll be walking around with the equivalent of a chair to hit people with. So...
my issue with it is it's a bit like you're trying to bring in, they're trying to do this like professional wrestling thing of it, like actually having leaderboards, and now he just has the I'm skipping to the front of the queue, and they've had a lot of I'm skipping to the front of the queue recently, but I still think it'll be very good.
I see what you're saying. It's like I've commented on all of the squash matches in previous Dark and stuff, just being to get the win numbers back up, so they were a bit obvious in who was going to win.
Yeah.
But hopefully it evolves further. So we're all super pleased with the first match then. It was definitely a nice taste out of my mouth from the previous one, especially as I got to see Chucky T run out barefooted to save his friend.
And we also have to give special reference to Marco Stunt and the mini ladder.
Oh, fuck, I've got a comment on that. Yeah, the tiny chokeslam. The chokeslam off was really good. I forgot to mention that. Nice bit of fun in the middle of what isn't the most serious match, but as soon as ladders are in a match, it's not the most serious match, realistically.
I think even the most wrestling diehard can accept that once the ladders are involved, it's not going to be a big horse match, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
So after that, we had MJF versus Jungle Boy. MJF wins with a roll-up, a modified European clutch. What did you think of the match, and what scores did you give it?
I think I can happily say that this is the best wrestling match in the show. MJF, obviously, I think is a creature of beauty. I love him. I love 70s Heel 101. The wrestling was just great. There was some brilliant counter work. You could tell these guys work together. MJF's always in character with his losing his temper side. It's wicked. Then pulling the fake knee injury. This is probably MJF's best match, in my opinion. I've got quite a few notes just because of how good it was. We had limb work. It was just a showcase in future stars. Brilliant pace. Loads of character work. They made each other look great. MJF's Michinoku driver was fucking cool. I love that move, and I miss Pentagon doing it. Jungle Boy could have won by count out, so he still looks super strong. Use of the ref knocking the ropes to knock him down was brilliant. And the end sequence was really phenomenal of the counter to roll into pin, into hold, into pin, into fucking other thing. It was amazing. Really good technical wrestling. Just everything I enjoy without it being meta level of silly. I kind of like it. It's an A. It was wicked. I don't think it's quite into an S because I don't think it's going to lodge forever in the annals of history in my mind, but it's wicked. Awesome.
It'll be that moment that you remember when they first fought each other, because they're going to be top of the card in 5-6 years, and you'll be like, well, this story's been going on since, this Double or Nothing. So, it's going to build and build, hopefully, because they're just going to be such stars. They're both 24? It's ridiculous how good both of them are.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. And now Jungle Boy's talking. You're learning he can talk. I said a while ago, I don't think it was on the show. I think it was to you guys. It might have been when we were watching All In the days when we were allowed to all meet up.
Oh, yeah.
That Jungle Boy, when he loses the Jungle Boy gimmick, and it's interesting that Jim Ross always refers to him as Jungle Boy Jack Perry. And so making Jungle Boy a nickname, which is starting to build up to him becoming, I think he is a future. He's definitely a future main eventer.
100%. I'm just kind of sad he didn't do that weird hold himself on the ropes backflip splash thing he did in some of his first episodes. But that's the only criticism I could have of this match. As I said, I think it's my favorite wrestling match of the night.
I don't think you should criticize it for that, because I feel like it was like a good old-fashioned 80s with a bit of supplementing wrestling match. That was a classic match. It was beautiful to watch.
And I got to see a Poison Rana, and he's probably got the third best Poison Rana in current active. Penelope in second.
So future tier list then, Mr. Strange, Poison Ranas, yeah?
Oh yeah, I'm willing. The Tetsuya Naito list of Poison Rana. It'll have to be the Steiner list of Poison Ranas, won't it, realistically?
The other thing I quite liked about this was Jungle Boy not even with the injured arm, even though they told the story about the injured arm all the way through. Yes, I like a match with a good story and a payoff to the story, but I like the fact that the payoff to the story was that MJF couldn't get the salt of the earth on. Jungle Boy was just too good, too ready for it, and MJF
yeah,
had
good
to
point.
use something different to get the win.
That's really good, actually. I didn't think about it that way. It shows that Jungle Boy is clever enough to actually think about that finisher, and MJF is clever enough to get a different win. No, that's actually a nice little addition. I hadn't thought about it that way.
So next up is possibly, I think it's going to be a slightly divisive match. It was Lance Archer with Jake Roberts versus Cody with Arn Anderson. Cody wins after hitting 2 crossroads. What did you think of the match, and what score did you give it?
Well, first I'm going to criticize Mike Tyson because he didn't really looked like he knew what he was doing, and the belt looked like it was made in a coin squasher machine. Just saying.
You've got to be nice about the belt during the current situation and everything, you know.
No, I don't. I always pop to Archer coming out and stomping randos in the Suzuki Gunway, and I always comment on it. Did anybody else think Bryce saying they could do a handshake sounded a bit like Morty from Rick and Morty, or was that just me? You guys can have a handshake. They do a very good Morty. I'm sorry, Bryce. I'm sure you're lovely. It's my job to rip on people.
I was very confused about all of this. Why did they have Mike Tyson? What was the point of him? It must have cost a fortune to get him, and it just felt pointless.
I bet it didn't. I bet that's why they got him.
It's not called New Vegas, Matthew. That's a computer game. It's that Las Vegas flair. I've seen people very excited about it. I don't get it either. I'm like, it's a man who keeps pigeons who once assaulted somebody. Oh boy. But let's not go into my moral issues with Mike Tyson.
No.
I'm glad he's found a path of redemption. I just don't think he should be on TV. Right, Cody and Archer. It was good. Nice, solid, fast-paced start. In fact, the wrestling was really good. The wrestling was all really good. I just think I think maybe I needed a break match after Jungle Boy and MJF, something, because everything they did, although good, was not as good as the previous match. I'm not sure why Tyson was really there. Everything was sold. Archer's no selling has worked up really well. Like, he actually rolls with punches now when he's hit and then laughs them off, as opposed to just looking like, it's fake. It was basically a sort of good Japan match, which obviously they fought in. I really like the DDT for Jake and the Spinebuster for Arn moment. I love the fact that Cody did a Stinger Splash. Sting to AEW, confirmed.
Yes, the Stinger Splash. I want to just quickly cut across. You mentioned the Spinebuster DDT. I have to say, I really disliked the ref coming out and saying he just did something, because one of the rules of wrestling, and it's one of the die-hard rules, is if the ref doesn't see it, it doesn't count, and it has to be the ref you've got.
Yeah, 100%.
You don't have video replay. And I think it was to set up Tyson facing down Jake the Snake, so you can have your celeb moment.
Oh,
moment. Had Tyson not yawned earlier, I mean, he was probably knackered. I'm imagining they'd flown him in from somewhere, but you know what I mean? Had they not caught him on the camera yawning?
Tyson didn't add anything to the match, basically.
Him presenting the belt was, I think, all you needed. I think they were trying to recapture the Stone Cold Shawn Michaels thing with Tyson.
But that was before we learned he was a terrible human being, and when he was still punching people's faces into sand. Now he's a weird man who keeps pigeons.
Exactly. I think, and it's one of those things. But yes, sorry, you were saying about the actual match after I got across on my one downer on it.
Not a problem, bro. That's what we're here for. I don't think we needed the second rope walk from Archer. I think 1 into a moonsault's good enough each time. It's a nice little sequence, but once I've seen somebody walk the ropes the second time, I'm like, how are you keeping that man in place by holding his fingers? Just looks like he's keeping your weight up to me.
Yeah.
Second one just unneeded. I'm glad there was no snake in the bag. There we are. That was clearly just a bag of pipes. That pleased me. Mike missed the finish, putting his shirt on. That made me laugh. Once again, go on, Nick.
I think your issue with this match was you sort of written yourself into a corner. Like, it's a bit weird, Cody winning. I know that they want to build Cody. He is a good wrestler and all this, but when you're in charge of a company, it's always a bit weird when you win, especially if you're Dusty's son. And, you know, and then they built it so Archer couldn't lose because of the whole sexist manager angle. So it was like, where do you go from here, sort of thing. But I think they did the best they could with the situation, in all honesty.
Yeah, I think I'd... Go on, Morg.
I was going to say, because we alluded to this yesterday when we did the podcast and we did the discussion about how they book themselves and Cody being booked to win this.
Yeah.
I think that what AEW are doing, they have a much, they have a longer pay-per-view schedule. They don't have the WWE thing where you have a pay-per-view every month, and so it's just you rush through Raw and SmackDown to get to the pay-per-view. It's much more similar to NXT in that respect, and I don't think we need to have the baby faces go over all the time, but I think they lead up to a very classic, and it's something I'm always quite hot on, because one of the whole points of wrestling is you've got a bunch of bullies, and bullies need to get their comeuppance.
Yeah, it's a Rocky Hero Rise story. That's basically what we're all after, realistically.
But I'm not convinced that Cody does add a bit of legitimacy to the belt, but I'm not entirely sure he should have won. I think he should have possibly lost by shenanigans. Sorry, you guys were saying.
Yeah,
I would 100% agree with that, because I don't know, but he was shenanigans out the last belt, so it's kind of like, you know, what do you do?
I wanted him to be smashed down to the bottom and then have the obvious heel turn. I thought if he lost this, because we've seen hints of enraged berserk Cody coming out, I was like, maybe this is his snapping point when he doesn't win this belt. You know what I mean?
No, that would have been a lot better. And also, I was expecting a change of a finisher. I don't think Lance Archer seems strong by taking down by 2 crossroads, because we know a crossroads like a handshake in wrestling. So...
Yeah, it's a transitional move now, basically. I liked Cody rotating through different finishes for match, like he did the sharpshooter. Did a submission in one.
He did figure 4.
That's the Badger.
Yeah.
I think I'd be disingenuous not to give this match an A. The wrestling was really good. They had story build up. It was really solid. Everything made sense. A couple of minor niggles. To me, it's a B, but I think objectively it's an A rank match.
I'm going to play my card here, and I'm going to say, because of stupid ref interference, you can go with
We're taking
your
it down to a
heart.
B.
You can go with your heart, because unless Mr. Muir wants to override us as our guest.
Completely not. It's a B. It's a B, maybe even a C match in my opinion, because of the storytelling was very WWE, where you're writing yourself into a corner and then you can't get out of it. The weird ref coming in, it's like now we've got, every time there's something that goes wrong in the ring, it's like, why hasn't the second ref come out to say that guy didn't do that? You know, it's just
it's set a
just
precedent.
damaging the wrestling. It's damaging the brand by having that sort of thing, just to make Cody feel more powerful. And you know, like I said, he's Dusty's son. He's got to be very careful about that, because everybody knows what Dusty was like. So, you know, that's just my feelings on the matter.
Oh, we've got like a full set. It's well, 2 out of 3 say B, 1 says a C, so it's a low B.
Yeah, it definitely gets a downgrade for the ref spot, and for them writing themselves in a corner. The other, I mean, the one thing about Cody is, and I've said this, and I think I said it on yesterday's podcast, when he has a crowd, that guy is so over as a proper baby face, though.
Oh God, yes, he's a fantastic.
And he gets the biggest pop. And the thing that's hurting him more than anyone else is not having a crowd. He can have his standard C, B matches no matter what. Consistently. 3-star general. But he's hurt by not having a crowd. I think with a crowd and the crowd pop, I think we would have been swept up into it. As much as the 2-man awesome crowd do their best, the Gun Club 2-man crowd do their best. I think with hearing the big pop, we would have been drawn into it more.
I would counter with Jon Moxley, the man that gets the most from the crowd, that pulled off his best match I've seen him do.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've seen better Mox matches, but they weren't on AEW.
Yeah.
So after that, we had, and I thought I felt a bit sorry for these two. Penelope Ford with a very, very bandaged up Kip versus
Love that.
Chris Statlander. And Statler wins with the big bang. What did you think of the match and what score did you give it?
Right. I love both these lasses. I loved Penelope came out selling the injury from the ladder match. Kip with his crutches was brilliant. And he did have the line of the match, which was, I've seen all the Alien movies. I know how to deal with you, which made me piss. Really solid and good. Both the women are just great. The match didn't let up. It was just continuously going. Statlander's run up the turnbuckle backflip thing is fucking cool. There were a couple of small botches, a couple of moves where it didn't go quite smoothly, but they all pulled through and looked like they actually worked, as opposed to sometimes when they just look fucking awful. Yeah, it was a great match. Just sadly, no story due to the Brit injury, obviously. So I gave it a B because it should be by my own standards. It was a really good match. Just we didn't have any real story to tie it in. I'd like to go on it more, but it wasn't the biggest prepped match we had. Yeah, no, I had a really good time, and I think they're both fantastic, and I'm loving the fact the women's division actually seems to be good now.
For myself, I think it was an absolutely fantastic match since they pulled out on the fly from Wednesday.
Man.
Chris Statlander, I'm not going to lie to you, is my favourite female full-time in AEW. This is because Yuka is not full-time. Penelope Ford.
You cut to Death Triangle. Sorry.
Mate, Yuka to Death Triangle would make me so happy.
Carry on.
Penelope Ford, she's just phenomenal. She's so good as the valet for Kip Sabian. Well, when they do rotations, they're just a great couple together. I really like that. Ooh, they're so dastardly feel, And it was a solid match. Yeah, it was absolutely solid for what time they had. The rust and issues they had, I think, was completely acceptable. I'd give it a B myself.
Oh, Dubs B's. Just you now, Morg.
Yeah, I agree. It was. I mean, I'm usually much more critical of the women's matches, being a fan of the NXT and the American style of wrestling, which AEW is, and NXT's women's division has been something phenomenal. Heavily propped up by 3 Japanese wrestlers who are like 3 of my favorite wrestlers. I thought it was a really good match. I think it was a sensible thing to happen. My only small, tiny criticism, which doesn't downmark it, is I would have liked to have seen Jimmy Havoc come out as well with Penelope. But in the future, I also want to see Penelope coming out for Jimmy Havoc, which they have done before, because I really like this stable that has a female wrestler in the stable who is a wrestler and not just a valet. That's my only tiny criticism.
I think the issue with bringing Jimmy out is the fact whenever Jimmy's come out to help anybody else, he's just fucking decked them really hardcore. And obviously, they're not so big on the intergender at the moment.
I think he could have just come out and been another cheerleader along with Kip. But he could have added a bit of menace with having Jimmy there. Sorry, go on, Mr. Muir.
How I would have done it, Jimmy comes out, starts to look like he's about to menace him. Best friends interrupt. Orange Cassidy comes out with the boys to come save Chris Statlander, because we've seen that they've got a bit of a thing going on, and that would have built up to more tension in those two groups. And you've got the intergender fighting you can have on a non-intergender show via the teams both having females in them.
Oh, that's something that could have pushed it up to an A, if I'm honest. That would have tie it into a further story. I mean, Brit's out anyway, so you might as well.
Yeah, I think that's good. So we're all B's on that one. So after that, the next match was Sean Spears versus Dustin Rhodes. Dustin wins with the final reckoning. There's much more and less to this match. What did you both think of it, and what score did you give it?
So I think we're all aware of my shameful love of Sean Spears. I think he's wonderful. He sells like a king. He's great comedy. He played the Postman Pat theme tune himself to tease Dustin, but then Dustin came out to his own Postman Pat. Then he ate a lot of shit. He even lost a shoe, which means he's dead, according to the internet. The Tully Pants was funny. The final reckoning is a cool move. Very squashy. It was a break, but comedic. So I give it like a C as a section. I didn't really view it that much as a match. It was just sort of like a comedy pause, which we've had quite a lot of solid wrestling. That's my opinion.
I think it was the best you could do with the situation of what it was, but I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with Sean Spears, because when he first came out, he was the chairman. The top. He was like one of the top baddies. Now he's like getting pants by Dustin. It's like, what's happening? But it's like
it's that worry I've had. But yes, carry.
I think Sean Spears lives in his own gym with his incredibly hot wife, training a bunch of different wrestlers who just fucking loves wrestling. So he's happy just to be whatever's needed at the time. He wants to rotate gimmicks and just be, because his gimmick is basically just Healy twat. I honestly just think he's there to train wrestlers and have fun. I think he loves wrestling so much that he doesn't really care if he's involved in anything. So you can just give him these sections. Sure, it'd be nice if he was sort of rounded out to a bit more of a confirmed solid character like, but I don't know, maybe this is just my shameful love of him speaking.
Oh, I'm not going to put him down. The Sean Spears news bit was my favorite bit of the last Dynamite, so I can't say that I don't like Sean Spears. It was just a bit weird for me. I feel it could have been handled a bit better, but I have no way of saying how I would have done it better. So yeah, it's a solid CB for me.
Yeah, I think as a segment, it was a B, and I'm going to judge it as a segment. I am not going to.
Yeah,
judge
it wasn't
as
a match.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge it as a match. It was a cool down segment. I do wonder whether it would have been better off putting this maybe between Lance Archer and Cody. I appreciate they used it to try and break up the women's matches, but that would have been maybe put Penelope Ford versus Chris Statlander on in between MJF and the TNT Championship.
There definitely needed to be something between MJF and Jungle Boy and Lance and Cody. I think that cost Lance and Cody for me. And throwing in a little section like this or rotating the women's matches would have actually helped with that. I said that earlier to Rue.
Yeah, and I think in a also, not having a crowd is a bit different. With having a crowd, you'd have had a very tired crowd after MJF, Jungle Boy, and then Lance Archer and Cody. And I think they would have suffered. I think Lance and Cody might have actually suffered had they been in front of a live crowd. So, following on from that short segment, we had Nyla Rose versus Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's Championship. And Hikaru Shida wins with the Shining Wizard. What did you think of the match, and what score did you give it?
So obviously, I didn't think Shida was going to win this. I thought Nyla was going to keep the belt for longer. Nyla Rose comes out in a £3 wish mask. Mostly I know because I've got one. Shida comes out dressed as Tifa, I'm informed.
We are pretty sure she was Tifa.
Definitely Tifa.
I'm not a Final Fantasy weeb. I'm a different kind of weeb.
There's pictures of her cosplaying as it as well.
Oh, fair cop. Well, she does make her own costumes. Nyla's really improved. I've not been sold on a lot of Nyla matches just because I don't think she was that smooth in the ring. That's improved. She does swap the running chair knee for an apron knee, which looks a lot better.
Stole my comment.
It was solid. It was good. My inner weeb does love shouty Japanese angry woman. And we've got a lot of good strikes, a lot of good moves, really good match. It's a rare moment in wrestling when the intended target goes through a corner table as well. So a special moment for that with the Avalanche Falcon Arrow. I had a great time. I think the wrestling was all solid and smooth. I think they used the environment well. They didn't over hardcore it. Unexpected finish. I think this match is deserving of an A again. I think that everything in there was good. I think we had the story. I think if the crowd had been there for the extra pop for Shida, it would have been amazing. I've got very few comments just because it was very smooth and very well done. It's maybe a little lower on some of the higher spot moments, but I did enjoy the knee through the big poker chip and stuff. Yeah, just really good match.
I've been a high criticism of Nyla Rose in the past. I think they've been a very sloppy worker, but after that match and the Rio match beforehand, she's been such an improvement, and it's so nice to see. when a wrestler improves a lot. And this match was by far the best I've seen her in, and it was really good. I'm really happy to see Shida win it because I feel she'd be a good face for the company, for the Women's League. And I think everybody came out feeling stronger after that match. I would be very excited to see either of these ladies in a match. So I feel it was a great one. A solid B or A for me.
Go on, women's match expert.
It was an A. It was a real, and for me, it was a mid to high A. It didn't have that. Shida winning is what makes it so big as well, because I was getting a bit tired of her being the permanent number one contender because she's always at the top, and if she's that good, pull the trigger. And I wasn't expecting it, so I popped and I enjoyed it. I like the fact she could have won with the Falcon Arrow, but she had to do something extra.
But no one kicks out of the Falcon Arrow.
I knew that was coming. The spots with the tables, it was a good. I don't want to say hardcore match. It was a good no DQ match as well.
Match with environment.
Yeah, it was a very enjoyable no DQ match. I thought it was. I really, really enjoyed it. You could tell I wasn't talking a lot during that match, which usually is the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just good. Somebody else go. I'm talking over you all just because I was like, yeah, wicked.
No, I just think it's showing the depth of the Women's League. Like, once they get, like, the travel bans off, I really feel that if with a little bit more build and maybe some tag belts for the ladies, I think there'll be a fantastic league once they all get back to work and they get a few more signings.
The last couple of months have really knocked the women's work up the rankings. Like, at the start of the year, I was like, oh boy, the AEW women's division. And now I'm like, yeah,
exactly that.
They just need, and it's still that thing from our first rant. They still need more stories about other things, and we're starting to get that. Yes, it got hurt with the Brit getting injured, but I don't see a reason why Penelope and Chris Statlander can't. While Brit's out injured, they can't have a story and do some stuff. They need another couple of names. That's the only other thing.
Hopefully, Evil Magician will, Anna Jay will rise up. And hopefully Preston Vance will get rebranded as her beautiful assistant. That's all I'm hoping.
I'm sorry, it's Yuka for champion next, and she's Yuka! I want my crazy psychopath back.
Wait a second, your champion league's just Stardom. Shut up.
I've got my eyes on another young small, crazy Japanese wrestler who might be getting pissed off with WWE, and there is much suggestion that she might be leaving.
I mean, I don't know why any of these WWE Japanese women would leave and go to work in the place where all of the indie Japanese and Lucha Underground wrestlers they've all worked with are. That would make no sense.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not EO.
Boo. There's Kairi, isn't it?
Yeah, Kairi.
She's worked with loads of them already.
Kairi is, has been liking tweets that are suggesting she should leave WWE.
Awesome. More Japanese women to fight at high velocity in an AEW ring.
She's expected to go back to Stardom, but I'm hoping that they wave some money at her.
AEW the crossover, hasn't it? That B and Jamie Hayter are Stardom stars. They've just got contracts where they can come over and do AEW's matches.
Yep.
Excellent. So, following that match, before we start gushing more about women's wrestling, Japanese women, Brody Lee versus John Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Mox wins by ref stoppage after he puts Brody into a sleeper. To be fair, this was also after he had put him through a section of the flooring.
Yes, mate.
And Brody was busted open, and he'd hit him with 2 paradigm shifts. It was certainly one.
It was 1 through the floor and then 2 in the ring.
Yeah. And what did you think of the match? What score did you give it?
Right, so obviously I've not been kind to Mox matches. I think they've been a bit too squashy, and I'm not a huge fan of his style. And I can see how the character resonates with other people, doesn't resonate with me that much. So, as much as I had high hopes for Brody from having seen him in Chikara and a variety of other things, his matching run in AEW hasn't been phenomenal for the enjoyment factor for me. It's great at what they do, but I've not enjoyed the matches. So I went in and I couldn't see a satisfying ending. I was like, how do either of these people come out strong? They looked really comfortable fighting each other. This was easily Brody's best match, and it's the best Mox match that I can remember in recent memory. Mox's Gotch pile driver was good. Mox did moves. They could fight each other. Brody looked like a fucking beast. Mox was on the back step and, just toughing it through in his crazy man way. The paradigm shift through the walkway was great because it didn't look as obvious as all the other breakaway stuff that people tend to go through. I'm going to put him through this big black wooden box that happens to be at this side of the ring. No, he was just through the ring. Really good. Then Brody just comes out, obviously eats 2 more paradigm shifts, which is what has disappointingly ended a bunch of matches where I've just gone, oh, it's over. He's done the paradigm shift and fucking kicks out at 1. I was like, whoa. Brody felt like a juggernaut, and he basically had to pass out whilst bleeding after eating multiple finishers. They used the environment, and it had story and build, and the ending didn't bother me. Like, I was quite happy with the ending. I couldn't see a way that didn't involve shenanigans, and it worked for me. So I suppose I've got to give it an A, realistically. Somebody else is going to have to be more critical, because I had a good time. I didn't expect it.
Coming into this match, I didn't see where they would go with it. I didn't see what benefit there would be at this match. I thought it was, as the Cody Lance Archer booking, I thought it was going to be like that. It's like, where do you even go from here? You're building up this mega heel, and then you instantly put him in with the champion. It's only going to damage both of them. But this match just was fantastic. There was, it elevated both. Like I said before, it's what you want from wrestling. I feel like Brody's more of a dominating force, even though that he lost. I feel like he's still a threat out there. My only issue is, where do you take him from here? That's the only issue I can see if I'm going to be negative on this match. But otherwise, it was a fantastic match.
We can't really judge that to Wednesday, can we?
No, exactly not. And I've been a massive criticism of Moxley, and I really enjoyed this match. So, yeah, it's a low B, high B, low A for me.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good match. I've been a fan of Mox's for a while, back from when he was trading barbs with Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, on the internet, because he is another one of the sort of the hardcore wrestlers. He's another one who came from that kind of background. I'm glad we're going back to crazy badass Mox, the same one who came out and put Kenny through hell and had other great matches that he's had before.
The Joey Janela match was good, wasn't it?
There was the Joey Janela hardcore match. That was really good. Mox can have good matches. I think he has struggled having matches against jobbers. And as much as 10 is great, and as much as you love 10, currently he's not been built up in the same way. And
mate, Alan Angel wasn't built up in the same way, and those Kenny and Phoenix matches are the best thing that's happened recently.
Yes, but how much of that is on how good Kenny and Phoenix are? I don't know whether Mox is not a Ric Flair, Bret Hart, X-Pac guy.
No, he's not. He needs another good person to dance. He can't carry the dance on his own. No.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He'll give you a top solid A match with someone who's good. The two can work well together. But I don't think he's not got that. As like I say, the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair ability to have a phenomenal match without someone to dance with.
Yeah, fair. I get what you're saying. Well, either way, this has won me back. My if Mox keeps this up and we get crazy Mox and not Comrade Mox, I'm excited for more of this.
Yeah, I'm worried that when we get a crowd back, we will go back to Comrade Mox.
No.
I feel that we will have Comrade Mox, but hopefully not. Hopefully we'll just get Deranged Mox, which is a far better character.
Oh.
And so then, for the last match, we moved away from the main ring, which is probably a good thing because there's a big hole in the rampway down to it. And it was the Inner Circle versus the Elite and Matt Hardy in the Stadium Stampede match. The Elite wins after Kenny pins Sammy after hitting a one-wing angel from the seats. And when I say from the seats, I mean from what looked like about 15 foot in the air.
Have you seen the picture of him in the air holding Sammy?
I haven't.
I'll find it after. It's the camera that you can't see the ground or where he's jumped from. He's properly like plummeting like a cartoon character.
So, what did you think of the match? What score did you give it? There are so many spots here I think that we need to cover. I'll let you lead this, Mr. Strange.
I think we all know the rank of this match. I am a lover of DDT, of meta wrestling, of jokes that break the paradigm, of Chikara style stuff. And it's quite clear that Kenny is still doing everything he can to bring that attitude to mainstream wrestling. This match was an S-rank experience. So much happened. And don't get me wrong, it benefited from being able to cut cameras away and go in different directions. And I think I love the selection of different scenes. Obviously, we open on the pitch. They come out in the pads. Looks wicked. You get some standard wrestling on the ring, some Kenny's broom, some cool stuff in the ring. A couple of finishers, a few bouncing tag moves. But you know, it was a strong start and we had fun. But it's where it goes from there, isn't it, really, that we want to talk about?
Yes.
Sammy can run at 55 miles an hour. Isn't that right, Nick? Isn't that the
That is correct. That is the fact that I have worked out from... He can outrun a charging horse and a go-kart. So, you know, he can go at 55 miles an hour for his stats.
Yeah, Hangman on a horse, fucking immense. Oh God, where do I go? Which scene do I talk about first? The infinite rolling suplexes as a joke on the rolling suplexes. I love the rolling Northern Light suplexes, and 100 yards of that was fucking hilarious. I'm going to build up to probably my favorite moment. I think the coolest moment was the bar fight, if I'm honest. I enjoyed the proper Western feel of him sitting down drinking and Hager sitting down next to him, and you hear the drink or fight. It's very Western.
It was beautiful. It was
the sliding hangman across the bar,
mate.
It's the essence of wrestling. This is. It's just boiled down what people want from wrestling, and then extended to such a degree, it's ludicrous. You know.
Yeah.
You just feel like everything was thought out to give the best experience for someone that just wants to see the raw essence of wrestling.
Exactly that. I think I've broke it down to the coolest moment. Coolest moment is the bar fight. I love the buckshot lariat off Kenny's back, and then them drinking, and that was fucking cool. Hager's game's really improved, and he felt like a beast. The fact it took two of them to come down.
I thought Hager came across really, really well in that as well. I think personality came across again.
Yeah, mate. They've never been in a real bar fight, though. If you're going to hit somebody with a pool cue, you unscrew the bottom bit because it's harder. Just saying. Then we'll go to probably the most entertaining part, which was obviously Matt Hardy in the swimming pool of reincarnation. Santana shouting he can't swim when it's like 3 feet deep. The fact that they could see his stats when his stat bar came up, they coid see it. Version 1.0 Matt.
Oh, right. No, so that is actually a throwback to version 1.0. He would have a Matt fact, would always come up when he came out with his entrance. It would have a Matt fact come up. That's because that was version 1 Matt Hardy, or version 1.1 Matt Hardy.
Yeah, but could it be seen by the other wrestlers? Could they look at it to the side of the screen and go, those are his stats? That's what they did. Then him doing, obviously...
I think you missed the best part was when Jericho got a football thrown into his groin like Hans Molman and collapsed. I think you'll find that was the best part of the match.
I don't know, Hangman coming out with the line marker going
Oh,
over
mate.
Jericho.
You can see Jericho laughing if you watch when he turns his head to the side, just because of how great that bit is.
I mean, you can give up some corpsing in this match.
Yeah,
So very quickly, I don't know if you've heard, but I believe on his Instagram, I heard this morning, Jericho has said this was his greatest experience in wrestling.
That's
God,
good to
he's
hear.
a hero.
This was the thing he has enjoyed the most in wrestling. Just putting that
I mean,
in.
that's
But yes,
amazing.
yeah, sorry, just carry on.
Anyway, Matt Hardy doing the Hardy symbols under the water and doing different things with the side camera really made me laugh. I love how he took out Santana and Ortiz by typing Ortiz to a wheelchair and locking Santana in a freezer.
That will help with your inflammation.
So
It's
good.
beautiful.
I
I think we've got to talk about Sammy waking up. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
mate.
but
I
how
mean,
beautifully shot that was. Like
it's
it was a horror film.
my fucking highlight of the entire thing. Sammy was the champ in this. He ate shit all the way through, gets woken up by the sprinklers, and it's how he stumbles about celebrating like it's the fucking end of the mist or something.
Yes, mate.
Because he won, because he was the last man standing, and then you can just hear the revving of an engine.
It was so good.
It was
I'm sorry.
pitch perfect.
And the way he stops, and the way he sells that facial expression,
Oh no.
and turns around, and Kenny leaning out of exactly the same as the last time.
It was so good. Then him stood on top of the little box or whatever, basically fighting off members of the elite like it's a zombie survival. This match was beautiful. I don't think I looked away at any point. I laughed through everything. I feel a little bit sad I can't come up with a Matt Jackson moment off the top of my head now I think about it.
Matt Jackson did the suplexes, mate. You mean Nick?
Oh, sorry, Nick. Yeah, Nick. Sorry. Matt's the cooler one because his name's Matt, not like losers called Nick. Sorry.
Yeah, true.
Did Nick not do the moonsault off the?
He did.
Nick not do the moonsault off the goalposts?
Yeah, he did.
Is that not Matt as well?
No, that was definitely Nick.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that was cool, but it's not 100 yards of rolling Northern Lights suplexes, is it?
Not time for round 2, Sammy.
God, it was good.
That's Kenny's. I think that's Kenny's catchphrase because I do believe he used that twice.
I have nothing more to say about this match. Go watch it yourself if you haven't. Basically,
seriously, if you're listening to this and you're like, let's listen to some random Midlands weirdos talk about wrestling, and I don't really watch AEW, but I'm willing to give it a try. Just watch that match. I would watch an entire TV show of Joe. Well, we'll cover some of this later, I suppose.
Yep.
It's wonderful. It was a S-rank experience. We had classic wrestling. We had a bar fight. We had meta comedy. We had in-jokes. We had popping back to previous plot comedy. It's just fucking immense. I loved it.
Not to bring up WWE that much, but I thought the Firefly Funhouse would be my favorite match of the year, and this is just blown out the water. And I still love that match, but this just warms my heart of wrestling. That's how good it is.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I mean, we have had 4 of these this year now, if we include WWE's Climb the Corporate Ladder,
Indeed,
as well. And
I've not seen that one.
I find it difficult to rank the Climb the Corporate Ladder is certainly the bottom of the 4.
Oh, definitely. It was all right.
Yeah, it was very silly, but it was a different kind of silly. The Elite and the Inner Circle do silly much better than WWE's.
They're willing to rip on themselves. It's not all sold seriously. You can see the mischievous glint and. Well, I suppose we're rolling into our discussion now, realistically.
Yeah. So anyway, yes. So overall, what did you think of Double or Nothing? What is our overall score? Our overall thoughts? Is it a pay-per-view you should definitely go and watch?
Oh yeah, this is a pay-per-view I would pay for. This is a pay-per-view I think people should watch. And I think if you like AEW, if you like wrestling, if you like wrestling from classic style through to NJPW style, through to Chikara DDT stuff, you should buy and watch this, especially showing how much, no crowd, limited wrestlers, injuries. This is a phenomenal pay-per-view. The couple of downers I've got were small scale. Every match was great technically. Virtually all of them had great storytelling. I would say this is an A-rank pay-per-view with a fabulous, just beautiful finish that made me forget not only some of the botches and slip things, but made me forget some of the good matches. That's how good the end was. But overall, it's got to be an A, because half hour of perfect joy does not an S rank make.
Yeah, I think you can't really do much more than this, really, can you? Like Strange said, you got everything from a WWE match in Moxley, and you've got everything in here. What more could you want from a wrestling show? If you like wrestling as wrestling, can't ask for more. It's perfectly done.
Yeah, again, I think it was a really good pay-per-view. I think it deserves the A rank. I'm always have the feeling. You've got to remember, we are an AEW fan podcast, so we're going to skew more in their favor, but we don't mind being critical. If
I reviewed a WrestleMania.
Yeah, and we gave that a good match. I thought this was an absolute stormer of a pay-per-view. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it again when I watched it this morning as well.
Yes, mate.
It worked on a second watch. So that is our AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view review. Now, normally we would go into a session, we would have some questions. Because this is a special and we don't have any questions, if you would like to send us some questions or an idea for a discussion, or give us what your thoughts were on Double or Nothing, we are wrestleopinionated@gmail.com. We are WrestleOP on Facebook, and we are WrestleOP1 on Twitter. Now, we are going to have a little bit of a discussion just to round off the show. This was sparked by myself and Mr. Muir earlier on, and something Mr. Strange said as well earlier. The fact that we thought that the MJF and Jungle Boy match was the best wrestling match on the card. But is the Stadium Stampede now what we should judge as a wrestling match? Is that what, as I've just said, we just had 4 of these big movie wrestling matches. We had a whole TV show dedicated in Lucha Underground. We really need to do a Lucha Underground review show,
Yes, we do, mate. Yes, we do.
Is that actually is it the future of wrestling, or is it actually now the current of wrestling? Is that what wrestling is now? Is that what a wrestling match is now?
I don't think it is. I think you need to look at it as multiple things. Like, I love Lucha Underground. It's fantastic. It's what I want personally from a wrestling show. But if you look at the Boneyard match, I would say that was more of a Buffy episode than a wrestling match. As much as I enjoyed the Boneyard match, I loved the breakdown of wrestling in the... Oh, sorry.
Oh, what's he doing?
Mental blank.
It's all right. I'll jump in whilst he regains his thoughts. No, I see what he's saying. Lucha Underground was a TV show about wrestling in a fantasy setting. The Boneyard match was a Buffy episode that happened to be attached to WWE.
Oh, sorry, my mic just went out. The Firefly Funhouse was what I was going to say, was like a fantastic breakdown of wrestling. And then we had this, which was just an extravagance of wrestling. But I don't think they are wrestling matches.
Yeah, no, I see. Well, this one was sold more as a match. Obviously, the Boneyard and the Firefly Funhouse didn't gel in as well. Arguably, the Firefly Funhouse, which was more bullshit than the Boneyard. I mean that in a good way, listeners. I fucking loved both those matches. But, you know, John Cena actually walked out to the ring and then was teleported to his of Crafty in Hell. Whereas this was actually a setup match. You know, this is basically a hardcore street fight match taken to its ludicrous, penultimate level. Penultimate, that's one before. Never mind. LU, Lucha Underground, and this tie in really well with the story. And I think, as much as I love the meta jokes, I think it's sold better with these extravagant moments. Don't get me wrong, I would like to know canonically what Matt Hardy's powers are. And I would happily watch a series where all the wrestlers were a bit more aware and had a comedy Lucha Underground, I suppose.
Like Southpaw Wrestling. You'd happily watch that as a show as well, obviously. But
so I actually think that you can still class all these things as a wrestling match. The possible exception being the Firefly Funhouse, because that was something different. Like I said, that was quite cathartic for a lot of us from a certain period of time, and it's why I preferred it to the Boneyard match. I still think it has wrestling moves, it has wrestling stories, it has baby faces and heels, it has heels doing dastardly things, it has the more madcap stuff. I don't think that every match can be it. Wrestling has always got to be the three-ring circus. If you don't like the elephants, you like the trapeze. If you don't like the trapeze, then you'll like the clowns.
Exactly.
I think it's
that's exactly what this show was, if I'm honest.
Yes. But I do think I think that we can, and I think they're always going to get S ranks. Possible exception being the WWE Money in the Bank, Climb the Corporate Ladder. That was let down because of one spot in that. Let it down entirely for me.
It just wasn't as smooth. It just sort of, know.
Yeah, I think that the Stadium Stampede was AEW's version of. I'm not saying it was necessarily done to be a version of, because I think you probably got Matt Hardy.
You've got more Chikara people in. You've got more madness people in AEW, and they've shown a precedent for it. Whereas WWE is kind of experimenting into it.
Yeah.
Yes, and they the Boneyard was much slicker. I mean, that was filmed like a small movie. They do have the guy who was behind the other guy who was behind the Broken Universe stuff that TNA was doing that kind of launched this being a thing in wrestling currently, in more mainstream wrestling, I should say.
I don't think it's the future of wrestling. I think I'm just going to cut in over you.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think I enjoy it as seasoning to the show, and I love those moments. And as I said, I love DDT, Chikara, bullshit madness. Sometimes I do get angry about what exactly can Matt Hardy do, because, you know, we're shown to be in the real world and then Matt Hardy does some crazy stuff, but I let it slip because the experience is overall good. And I know I'm watching a TV show about wrestling. But I would watch the fuck out of an entire just meta series. If they just did a series which was about a wrestling show, but, you know, they got the best friends, all that sort of madness in, I don't think I could watch it as like a full 2-hour once a week show. It might have to be like a show like Dark, you know, like a show on the internet or something, or go full Southpaw. But I enjoy the comedy of mocking tropes in wrestling. Like, it's why I really like the 100 yards of Northern Lights rolling suplexes. Just need to, if you overdid it with too much lunacy, I think it would be like eating too many sweets. It would be too sweet for me. But if you had like a meta Southpaw-y Lucha Underground feel with that level of bullshit, I'd be happier. So it's not the... Go on.
I think your best way of doing it in the modern day would be you have the normal show, because you've got to get people into the shows. So, you have your normal show. And then if you were to do one of these matches, then it cuts to the hard cam at the end of the show and just shows on the screen sort of thing. But I don't think you could replace wrestling with it. No.
Not after that MJF Jungle Boy match.
No, exactly.
No, I think when I put it down to the discussion as being the future, I think that was a bad choice. I do think I think it counts as a wrestling match.
It had a ring and a pin.
As I said, I also think the Boneyard counts as a wrestling match, and I think even though it wasn't as good, the corporate ladder, climb the corporate ladder, counted as a match. So I do think that we can judge these segments when they happen. We can judge them and say, well, that was still a wrestling match because it was just something different in the three.
We've just got to accept it into the paradigm, basically.
Yeah.
And honestly, like a lot of people of the older days get angry about wrestling not being treated as real and, people not taking it seriously. But I've known wrestling wasn't real since I was 13, at least. So that's 26 years. 1/3 of my life, I thought wrestling was real-ish. And then, obviously, like, I've seen stupid street fight matches. I've seen... Everybody knows my favourite wrestling match, the Custody of Dominic ladder match. I've seen people get married through wrestling. The cat is out the bag. That doesn't mean I don't want the matches to look like fights. Virtually everything I saw in that match still felt like they were fighting. It's just sometimes it was a bit silly, It
was just wrestling at 120%, It was just too far off the scale to be look like a match, but it was great fun,
Oh God, it's the Dragon Ball Z of wrestling.
Yeah, that's basically what it was, It's taken to that nth degree. What could we do if we just went as silly as possible?
So there you have it. That is our review and our thoughts on the style of match. I think we need a name for what these styles of match are.
DDT matches.
The DDT matches. So we are Wrestle Opinionated. I have already stated, and we would like to thank Anchor.fm for hosting the podcast. You can find us as Wrestle Opinionated on Anchor.fm app and on Spotify. Mr. Muir, would you like to say anything before we sign off?
Not really. Thank you very much for having me. It was a great time talking to you about this, and have a good time.
It's me then, I suppose. Thank you very much for listening to this show. If you're listening to this for the first time because you've just picked up on a random AEW pay-per-view review, please have a listen to some of our other shows. It's normally just me and Morg, but if you really do like Muir, I can bully him into coming round a bit more. We like to discuss the variety of the matches, have discussions, have rants. We love feedback, questions, anything we can discuss, anything that makes you angry. We're happy to have that. So please, have a listen to a few other things. See if you like us, give us a like, subscribe, all the other things they say on the internet, smash the bell button. I don't know. So thank you very much for listening. Back to Morg.
So all that's left to be said is goodbye and good night.